Hey there. My name's Danny Leibrandt, and I'm the founder of Pest Control SEO, where we grow pest control companies with SEO. Today, I am with Joe Dingwall, who has been a pest control president for over 12 years and is the president of USX Pest Control and of Catseye Pest Control. Now, Joe has been in the industry for a while, and he is a very high role at these companies that are both doing a lot of revenue. They're doing, I think Catseye has over 100 employees doing over $15 million a year. So, very successful company. And Joe has also been a big part of the marketing. So, Joe not only knows about the pest control side, but also about the SEO and marketing side. So, super excited to have Joe on. I'm sure there's a lot of valuable insights to gain. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Of course. So, Joe, I actually wanted to start at this part. So, I know you've been in pest control and marketing for the majority of your career, but you actually started out as a pastor. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so out of college and in my early life, I was really passionate about that space. Loved it. Found a lot of fulfillment in it. Uh, Helped grow a church to be pretty large. And At some point along the way, I had to make a decision, for my family to move into a different space. And So I was looking at different industries and which way to go. I kind of fell in love with the pest control space. I thought it was a super stable industry that I also felt like I could make a difference with some of my leadership backgrounds and some of what I knew on the marketing side. I felt like I could make a difference there. So found a company that had a great reputation, and I knew a couple of people from, and started having those conversations. And one thing led to another, and fell more in love with the industry and dove right in.
Interesting. I want to dive more into that. So, how exactly did you find the company? Like, and what exactly
Yeah,
about pest control?
yeah. So how I found the company. So the comp, Cat's been around since 1987, and in the area, it happened to be the area I grew up in. It was kind of a household name. The founder of Cat's Eye, he has a his name's John Gagne. He has a passion for marketing, a passion for branding. So, like, we were that company in the area that, had the jingle on the radio, had the jingle on TV, had TV ads. Um, Anywhere you go, you kind of saw the brand. So it was a well known brand in this area, which is, I'm in upstate New York, but upstate New York, we service New York and all of New England as well. We're in 5 states. Um, anyway, and so I knew the brand. I happened to meet a couple people who worked there. They seemed like they loved it. I met the former vice president of Cat's Eye. Thought he was a great guy. Built a relationship with him and waited for our moment for me to onboard.
Awesome. So, right now you are president. What was your initial position?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the guy when I know what I want, I'll just jump in, right? So I jumped in in a sales role, and said, no better way to learn the business than learn how to sell the product, and what the products are and what the pests are and all that. So I spent a couple of years in that sales role, and then was fortunate enough to then start leading the sales division, and then saw some promotions throughout the years. And like I said, I had a background in leadership prior to here, so that was always my goal, right? To lead the thing, if I had the opportunity, and it came along, and it's been awesome.
Awesome. And I also note, which is pretty unique about you, is that you also have a pretty big role in the marketing, where most guys, it's maybe, just the pest control or just the operations. What is your role in the marketing for the company?
Yeah, so I work with an agency called Elevation 10,000. They're a full service marketing agency. Um, and Anyway, so we talk every day. We have monthly meetings. We have weekly check-ins as well, and we're always digging into the brand. So one of the things unique for us is back in 2017, we decided to expand into new territories. So up until that point, we were always just in upstate New York and Western Massachusetts, and we decided, you know what, let's take on Boston, and an area that we didn't have any brand value, we didn't have any recognition, right, and we didn't have any employees, nothing, right. So I met with the marketing team. I assembled a small group of a small team as well. We went out to Boston. We started deploying some of our digital assets, videos, etc., graphics. Started building all of our some of our back end SEO and more local references to Boston on our website, blogs, etc. And we just started from nothing, and from nothing to about 100 employees, and what is that? 2017, now 7 years. So
That's 100 employees just in the Boston location or total?
just in New England, and that
Okay,
was from
wow.
zero to about 100 in a matter of 7 years. So we're
Crazy,
pretty
man.
lucky, and the marketing, man, the marketing was such a critical piece, and it was something that we would talk about every day. How do we, whether it's through digital means, traditional means, how do we get the brand out there, make it strong, make sure our site authority is strong, make sure our everything's built right. So
Definitely.
it's been a work in progress, and now we've taken a good chunk of the pest control market in New England, and hopefully we continue more like that.
That's awesome. So 100 employees in 7 years. Are you involved in the hiring process yourself?
Well, yeah. So now we have a team of recruiters that that they're dedicated to making sure that we're our staffing levels are where they need to be. Early on, I was sourcing and hiring each person individually, and in the Boston and New England market. Um, but now we have a team of recruiters that helps.
Okay.
In their in-house, there are employees.
Yeah. No, I'm just interested that to maybe help another pest control company owner or someone that is a higher level. What advice could you give them about hiring and getting good people in your company?
Yeah. So you cut out for a second there. You said, "What advice to what?"
What advice could you give about hiring and getting good people in your company?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a three-stage process to the interview process. Each stage kind of tackles different questions. Of the first stage might rule out, okay, um, this person doesn't qualify for the following reasons. The second stage might dive a little more deeper into character or competency. So those are the three things we're really looking for: is do they have the character that we want? Do they have the basic competency or the enough competency to get the knowledge and the know-how to do the job? And then we also want chemistry, right? How do they fit within the team? How do they gel? And a couple of phrases that we use is sometimes we have to. We're looking for why. Is there a reason to say no to this person? Not a lot of times when we're recruiting, we're trying to. People are talking themselves into why to hire somebody, and you tend to make a lot of desperate hires that way. So we try to be really disciplined to not make desperate hires, but try to make the hires that we know, from a chemistry standpoint, they're going to get along great with the team. From a character standpoint, they're going to do the right thing, whether they're in front of somebody or by themselves. And from a competency standpoint, we really like those types of guys and gals that they like to troubleshoot. They like to solve problems. They They get excited about being the hero, the savior for the customer's problem. So if we fill those three traits, then we know that we probably have something good in our hands. But then the next stop is the onboarding. The onboarding is just as important as the hiring process. Because in that onboarding, those first few weeks, the customer, or not customer, the new employee, they're really thinking that whole time, like, okay, they're assessing us, right?
Mhm.
In those first 3 weeks of employment, maybe more. They're asking questions of themselves, like, is this somewhere I want to be long term? Do they have their act together? Is this the type of culture I want to be a part of? So we try to put a lot of focus in those first you know, 3 weeks and beyond, but those first 3 weeks of making a really great impression on that new employee and making sure they know what's expected of them, who to go to for what, and making sure that they have all the safety training and basic things to make them feel comfortable to be an employee here.
Awesome. I think that's a really good point. Almost like treating your employees like clients or customers. I feel like everyone is super dialed in on the
Mm-hmm.
client or customer journey and onboarding. Like, okay, we have this nailed process. We're gonna like send them a gift basket. We're gonna do
Yeah,
all this stuff, and we're gonna make sure that we keep them. Eliminate churn. But then no one does that for their employees, and now
yeah,
all their employees either aren't a fan or maybe they don't want to stay. But
yeah.
I think that should be the goal too, is we want to, just like we want to find amazing clients, we want to find amazing employees that will be with us for life. So I completely agree
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and employee priorities have shifted and changed a little bit since the pandemic. They have. I've seen a lot more value, which I think in many ways is a good thing, right? A lot more value placed on their time with their family at night.
Mm.
I remember when I first started this industry, it was such like a workhorse industry. Everybody was they wanted as much overtime as possible. If they could work every Saturday, they would. You know, that was like kind of the culture of the industry, and I think that that's kind of course corrected or changed, especially since the pandemic. So we've had to be we've had to acknowledge that, and we've had to put more focus again on that onboarding and making sure that they're the right fit and that we're the right fit for them.
Interesting. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's because of COVID?
I do, I do. I think the time home with family, the work from home culture that's definitely taken that's definitely grown a lot. I think it has shifted priorities.
Hmm.
And I
Interesting.
think in many ways it's a good thing. There can be
Yeah.
some challenges with it for sure, but in many ways a good thing.
No, definitely. I think it's for the best and probably for people's mental health as well. You can't
Yeah,
just be grinding 24/7. It's not super sustainable. But if they're doing a good amount of work, but they never burn out, they're always feeling good, I think that's a good thing.
yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
wanted to ask you about the Catseye brand. So I think they got established in 1987, and
87.
you said it really stuck out to you in that, it was almost like a household name, and they were super
Yeah.
good at branding. I've I've heard a little bit about Catseye, but not too
hmm
much. Can you tell me what makes them so good at branding?
Yeah. So there's a few things. Our founder John, he had an idea. Um, you know, I don't know when it started. Probably the late '90s. That the the brand should be more appealing to families and children.
Mm.
And his idea was, hey, these kids, if we make a fun, family friendly brand now, these kids will be the next homeowners. And
Ah,
he's definitely played the long game, and it really paid off. So I remember when I was first in a sales position, I would pull into a neighborhood, um, and like all the salespeople and all the team, they'll have like little you know mascot dolls in their car to give to children. And I would pull into a neighborhood, and kids would literally be singing the jingle when they'd see my car pull in, like I was the ice cream man or something.
No.
Yeah, yeah. And so we'd have, like, our mascot, had a big suit mascot, would show up at local Little League games, Pop Warner games, minor league baseball games, and throwing out the first pitch. So we really focused on that family friendly. When pest control, by nature, doesn't seem very family friendly, right? It seems it's very sterile, right? So his approach of being really focusing on the families and the kids, it made a big difference. It made the brand very approachable.
Wow, that is actually genius. I
Yeah,
don't think I've heard of that before. That
yeah,
is that is
yeah,
something else. So,
yeah. We did a bunch of things with it too. We even made like a 2D Super Mario Brothers type video game.
what?
Had a few levels. Um, it's unreleased, but
It's crazy.
it was that whole approach of, like, okay, how can we be a very accessible brand?
Hmm. And what did it start out as? Did it start as radio ads or, the Little League games? Do you know what was kind of like what started it?
Yeah, it started in the old phone book era, and then we'd have some basic graphics, and then we did full animation commercials for TV, and we would blast traditional TV for you know you know better part of a little more than a decade, just blasting TV. That was very effective, back then. It was definitely the most effective back then. And then at the same time, we would work with radio DJs, and do long-term relationships with them. We would service their house for free. We would install our exclusion system, which is a big differentiator for us as a company, on their house, and they would rave on air about how we did. And then we would always make sure, before they would talk and after they would talk about Catseye, that our jingle would be the bumpers.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
now from then, how has it evolved? So to now, present day in 2024, what are your main kind of marketing and advertising strategies?
Yeah. Um, so definitely heavier on the digital for sure. We'll find some key traditional partnerships that make sense and resonate with our target customer. Some radio DJs work really, really well, but definitely more on the SEO, fresh, good content from um, hosted on multiple platforms, not just our website. Uh, so also, backlinks, um, programmatic is something we're always working hard on and dialing in. Big opportunities there, programmatic, and getting on streaming. Making sure we're where eyeballs are. And a lot of times these days, eyeballs are on their device, on their cell phone, or on their laptop, or something like that. So making sure we're blasting the digital streaming services and other things
Can you
like that.
explain more about that? Like what platforms are you talking, like Instagram Live?
No, not necessarily Instagram Live. I'm more talking about things like ads on Hulu,
Okay.
ads on
Oh, okay.
Peacock, programmatic, stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about you can see it on the phone, but I guess that applies to those networks as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay.
More
Okay.
like
Cool.
media streaming.
Okay. And what has been kind of the biggest shift? And it seems like you guys are almost all in on digital. When did you kind of make that transition?
Um, I wouldn't say we ever made a decisive transition. We've always been kind of uh, going how the market has shifted, and we watch really closely the trends, and so we can kind of gauge um, our return on investment. So if as we started to see less viewership on TV, we started to scale back our budget to there and add more into the digital side. And yeah, it's definitely by far outweighed on the digital side today.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to ask you about that exclusion system. I've also never heard of that, and you said that was a
Yeah.
differentiator. Maybe some people could find some value in that. What exactly is that?
Yeah. So we have again, the founder of our company is definitely a visionary. He had a thought before it was even a thing in the pest control industry that you know pest control companies should become experts in sealing up structures because you can keep the pests outside, seal up the house to protect the home or the business, and it makes sense from a less use of rodenticides and other products, right? And it provides a lot of value to the customer. If you can tell the customer, okay, let's stop the problem at the root cause and seal up the home. Let's do that. So we just developed a whole construction division. He founder found some very high level um, uh, contractors that he brought on board, and we developed what we call our Cat Guard exclusion system. And that has evolved over the years. It's been a great way for us to enter new markets because it's a different thing than um, most pest control companies out there. So we can enter a market with a differentiator, kind of make a splash quickly. Um, so now that's evolved into a pretty huge division for us. We have like all these certifications that the guys and gals go through to become certified to install the product, um, and keeping our quality up and all that. So it's been a good thing and a big differentiator for us.
Awesome. And just to be clear, what exactly does it do, and what does like does it? I'm just a little
Sure,
confused. Like, what does it
sure.
look
So
like?
so if you imagine like a vinyl sided house, one of the main places that a mouse would get into a vinyl sided house is under the siding or under the corners. So our cat guard team would fabricate a metal guard that would cap off the bottom of that siding, and cap off underneath the corner posts. And it can be a lot more than that. It could be um, mortaring the joints between a stone foundation stones. It could be caulking around a chimney. It could be getting on the roof and sealing where two roofs meet, a roof intersection, with flashing or something. Wherever the pests are getting in, it's sealing off those things with something that is a construction grade material that the pest can't breach again.
Interesting. Okay, and I'm guessing that's fairly high ticket, right?
Yeah, yep, definitely drives the revenue.
Awesome, awesome. So back to your journey, we were trailing off a little bit, all kinds of crazy questions.
Yeah, I like
Um,
it.
yeah. So you've been with Catseye for 12 years, and you guys then, I believe, okay, so you opened up in Boston. Okay, and we kind of went through that already.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. So you were initially in sales. What were all of your roles going through the company? You started in sales. Was there anything between vice president or sorry, president?
Yeah, so I was a sales manager, then I became a VP of sales, then VP, then president.
Interesting. Okay. Are you still involved in sales as well?
I mean, if you run in a company, you better be involved in
Yeah,
sales.
yeah, yeah.
You know, it's sales and production. You have to have your hands pretty deep in each.
Mm. So what can you tell maybe new pest control company owners or guys that are maybe higher up in a company or even sales guys? What can they learn about sales? What do they need to know?
Yeah. So I think in the pest control industry, um, the people who stand out long term have the best training processes and constant ongoing training. There's nothing worse than a salesperson who doesn't know what they're talking about, who doesn't, who can't articulately explain why it's a problem, what is the problem, why it should be dealt with, and why this solution makes sense. So on the sales side, so we train, we have training conversations every day. Every single week, we have an extensive training class. Everything from how to build urgency, how to identify the pest, how to explain the product, how, how, I think I said this, how to close, and what techniques, how to keep in your sales minds, the best sales mindset you could be in, you know. And so we go through those trainings every single week, and I'm very proud today. Like, we've pretty knowledgeable sales team. I think that makes. I would say if you're going to start anywhere, it's the knowledge, it's the training, and it can't be one time. It has to be every single week, if not every day.
Awesome. I love that. And yeah, I don't think many people do that. I mean, it sounds like it's pretty normal to you, and it's like, how could we do anything else? But I feel like most companies aren't doing weekly training and continually training up their staff. Maybe it's
Yeah,
a monthly reminder, but nothing
yeah.
crazy like that.
Um, so for our like service teams, they meet every week for like a quick Zoom call just to go over, hey, here's some things we're seeing, here's some issues, or here's some things to work on. But then once a month, we'll bring in an outside um, person to give like a more formal training event, and we'll block off a good portion of the day, bring the whole team in, give them breakfast, and et cetera. So I think it just communicates constantly that training is important and we need to get better.
Okay, awesome. Also, I'm curious, what is your standard package that you guys provide? Because I know some people do like bi-monthly or quarterly,
Mhm.
and maybe get a discount if you do it for a few years. Do you guys have like a
Yeah.
standard package that you provide, or is it kind of just custom, like as going
Now,
basis?
too custom is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's very, you're going to have trouble scaling if everything is too custom. So our standard residential package is bi-monthly, um, except certain pests and certain like levels of infestation could be more frequent than that. But our standard is bi-monthly. On commercial, it really depends on which sector. Um, you know, Standard would be monthly, but like, food service could be weekly, could be a couple times a week, could be bi-weekly. That one's a little more custom, but that's just the nature of food service.
Food service.
Yeah, like restaurants and bakeries and
Oh,
stuff like that.
yes. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. So do you guys
Yep.
have many restaurants?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. So
Huh.
that's a pretty big division for us.
And how do you go about acquiring restaurants? They reach out to you? Do you reach out to them?
Yeah. So brand strength is even more important for commercial, I believe, than residential. Um, in residential, you can be pretty targeted with your digital ads and how you find your customer. On commercial, word of mouth and the strength of the brand itself makes a big difference. So what we found is when we enter new markets, there's a little bit of a lag of a couple of years of that brand establishing and getting some word of mouth going, and then after those first couple of years, we start seeing the commercial lift. And so that's what we've been seeing.
Okay, interesting. And what is your guys' split on commercial and residential? Like what, 10% commercial, how much?
Yeah, right now we're 80/20 on the residential to commercial, but that number is moving. My goal within the next 5 years is to get to that 60/40 split. The commercial division is growing very fast,
Okay,
so I definitely see us getting there.
awesome. Well, there's a lot more revenue there, right? Is there any additional complexity or anything bad about taking on commercial clients?
It is a completely different mindset, and so you have to have um, staff on that really understand commercials. So we made a couple strategic hires in management that brought a lot of very strong commercial background with them. And so anyway, so yeah, on the commercial side, you can't treat it like a residential. It has to be managed different. We have dedicated commercial techs, we have dedicated residential techs, and we have dedicated, we call them new start techs. Like, someone just signed up, we're going to come and solve your initial problem before we hand it off to like your recurring service. So we have different categories of techs that get managed a little bit different.
Okay, awesome.
And they have different KPIs that we measure and different scheduling. It's yeah.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're involved in every aspect of the company. Is there anything you're not involved in?
Um, I think I have like a little bit of my fingers in everything, but the
Okay.
team really does it all. I'm pretty fortunate to have a pretty stellar team. So I know what's going on, but I'm not doing it all,
Okay.
I can't do it all. I
Yeah.
can't do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to not just about the commercial and residential balance, but I also wanted to know about the balance within your company of the employees. So obviously, you've got the C-level, vice president, president, founder, maybe CEO. Basically, I want to know like how many technicians, how many salespeople, how many of each role do you need, and what's kind of the balance in the whole company?
Yeah. So, the most, not to downplay anybody else, but the most important people are the people that face customers. So, our technicians and our sales inspectors, because they're the ones interacting with the people who give us a paycheck, right? And people who grow the company, right? So you're asking about what's the split?
Yeah. Like, just so maybe someone who's starting out a pest control company has an idea of what it would be like to be running, $15 million company. Like, what employees do you need, and what is kind of the balance between all the different roles?
Yeah, so that evolves all the time. What I had, 4 or 5 years ago is very different than what it looks like today, and in 5 years is going to look very different again.
Mm,
Early on, I just needed, maybe a manager and maybe 10 techs, right, or something like that. But that's evolved over time. So, right now, the greatest bulk of our employees are the people that are doing the work. The technicians, our cat guard installers, the exclusion system, and our sales inspectors. And then for each division, we have managers assigned. So we like a ratio of between 6 and 9 people, 10 people per supervisor.
mm,
So beyond that gets a little bit harder, and it depends on how seasoned those technicians or whoever are. If they're highly, highly seasoned, that service manager might be able to handle 10 or 12. But if they're not highly seasoned, 6 to 8 is all they can handle. So those are some of the ratios we look at. And then each branch has a branch manager that kind of oversees everything, make sure everybody has what they need, everybody's cared for, customers are serviced. And then we have a back office, um, you know, kind of like a corporate office that there we hold all of our customer service team, all of our BDC. So we're kind of like if you can think of it like a hub and spoke model. So we have a hub where all of our HR, finance, IT, customer service, inside sales or business development, all of that happens in our New York office. And they serve everything that happens in New England and wherever else we are.
okay, awesome. And we talked about it before the call, but could you kind of reiterate what the relationship is of the parent company and then of the companies below it? Because I think it's a little confusing. Maybe people check you out, they're like, wait, you're the president of 3 different companies, and what do they all
Yeah.
do? They're, kind of all over the place. Can you explain?
Yeah. So we have a managing entity called Catseye USA. And below that we run two pest control operations, Catseye Pest Control and USX Pest Control. They service different markets. Um, and and so I think, does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, yeah, essentially.
So like USX Pest Control, we service upstate New York, Western Massachusetts. Um, it's an um, area that we've known for a very, very long time, and we launched a new brand for that market. And then, New Hampshire, Eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut is all serviced under the Catseye brand.
I'm curious, why did you guys create a new brand instead of use the existing Cat's Eye brand?
Yeah, so in 2016, we exited we used to service the upstate New York, Western Massachusetts market. In 2016, we made a decision to exit that market, so that way we could really go all into launching, New England, right? And then after about 5 years, we decided to re-enter upstate New York and Western Mass, and so we did that under the USX Pest brand.
Okay, so almost coming to it on a fresh slate. Everyone's kind of already heard, so then you left. Okay, okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep.
Another thing I wanted to ask you is, so it seems like you guys are really good at customer acquisition, especially on the branding aspect. Like I'm sure, again, the kids like singing the song too, that is invaluable. That
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
awesome. But I'm curious, what about customer retention and keeping clients and whatever customers, whatever you'd like to call them? What do you guys do to prevent churn and keep clients as long as possible?
That's a great question. It starts by giving them what they signed up for, um, making sure the service that you've signed up for is adequate to solve whatever their problems are. So making sure from day one you're set up, you know, for a customer to be satisfied. That's super important, right? Um, we don't have um, we don't have high churn at all. We have very low churn in compared to the industry standards. I think it helps us that the customers see us at a minimum of every other month. They build a relationship with our techs. Again, we when we're hiring the techs, when we're looking at those three things, chemistry, character, and competence, right? That chemistry comes through to the customer, right? Um, so that technician building that relationship with through that frequency with the customer is very important. Um, um, we don't rush through the jobs, in and out in 15 minutes. That's that's one way to for a customer not to see value in what you're doing, right? So anyway, so delivering the service, spending the time, having the same tech as much as possible, be at the house or at the business, um, and just communication. And again, we're really not we really don't lose. We don't have a high churn rate at all. We of course have some churn, but we do not have a high churn rate at all. And I
Awesome.
think it also helps that we're not selling everything over the phone. They're getting an inspection, so we're building value. When we're at the house, we're explaining to them, "Hey, why do you have these pests?" Well, here are the conducive conditions around the property. Here's why the pests like to be here,
Mm,
and and we try to help them understand that, hey, having a pest plan is going to be part of owning this home or part of running this business.
yep,
So we get people off of the mindset of, oh, I just need pest control real quick and then I'm done. Of having them think of it long term of this is part of owning my home or running my business.
definitely. There's something I wanted to ask you, but I kind of forgot it, which is too bad. Um, oh yeah, okay. So at least one of the things I was thinking of while you were talking about that is I know a lot of different companies have different review strategies. I'm curious what your guys' review strategy is.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of pepper the customers with review invitations. We do it in a few ways through PestPack, and then we also use Podium
Hmm,
with an API integration. Um, so that way, basically, every time an invoice is generated, they're served a text message to leave us a review, or through email.
Okay, awesome.
So
And is that working well?
it does. It does work well. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
sweet. Is
Yep.
there any other software that you guys use for your company? I know a lot of people are curious about that.
Yeah. So one thing we use is a bulk texting platform, which can be really helpful for confirming appointments. Let's say you build schedules for the entire next couple days. You can just dump it to a CSV file, upload it, and in a matter of 2-3 minutes, send out 1,000 confirmation text messages, and hey, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at between 2 and 3 p.m. Please reply, confirm, that sort of thing. So that's pretty helpful from an efficiency standpoint. Instead of them making calls,
Yeah.
all day. What else do we use? Like I said, we use Podium.
What was that bulk texter called?
The one we use is called Avocado,
Okay.
AVOCHADO.
Okay, awesome. People always
Yeah.
love to hear the specific one. They're like, "Well, I know to use it, but which one do I use?" They want to
Yeah.
have a referral from a guy they can trust like you. But yeah, is there any
Yep.
other software that maybe you guys use?
And just as a side note, we also use Avocado to integrate into our website, so that instead of using like a web chat, that if they click off that page, the web chat's gone. We use Avocado to text us through the website, so that way, if they do click off the page, we can still continue that conversation via text.
Awesome. That's super powerful.
Yep. Yep. Other platforms, I know that there's a number of them. From like an in-house communication and keeping up on tasks and deliverables, we do use Asana.
Love Asana.
Yep, yep. That's good for working through projects and all that back end stuff. Also, customer escalations, we'll track them more in Asana to make sure they have the urgency they need. And then we'll use Slack for team communications and group chats and stuff like that, keeping it fun and keeping the communication flowing
Okay,
well.
cool.
And yeah.
No, that's good. That's a good list right there.
Yeah.
So right now, where you guys are at, about $15 million a year, what is the plan and the vision? Do you guys want to get to $100 million? Is there a big exit in mind? What's kind
Yeah,
of the
the
next
plan
step?
is just to grow the business. It's been going very well. We've gotten through the first harder years of getting it off the ground in New England. Now it's off the ground. We want to mature the business, right? And we think that just in New England, the the ceiling is very, very high for how large we can grow it. Um, so yeah, we're just going to grow the business and grow it and get excited about giving people opportunities to grow their careers. And that's what motivates me. Like when we can, when someone can have a promotion like I had early on, like that's what drives me. So we'll just grow the business and take over as much as we can.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's what I want to ask you. You kind of already answered it, but like, what is your mission here, and what is your purpose related to what you do with this company?
Yeah. I get really excited about opportunities for people. I really do. It meant a lot to me when I started in this industry, and it's an industry that rewards hard work and good character. And so I get very excited about those opportunities. That every time we've promoted a service manager or promoted someone to a branch manager or something like that, it's a big moment. It's a big moment that we celebrate throughout the company, and we put it up on. Every branch has like a display screen where we show announcements and upcoming events, etc. So we blast that to all the screens and celebrate it. So that's a big motivating factor for me, and you know, in the pest control industry, there's a lot of young families, a lot of technicians with young families. So again, their opportunity to provide and grow their career is the number one driver.
Awesome. I wanted to, I think that was actually interesting. So you guys have like kind of TVs in every room and then you do announcements like celebrating people. Can you tell
Yeah,
me more about that?
we use a platform called Spectrio that basically it's a little hub that you have because we have right now let's see, four branches and our home office. Um, and so throughout all the branches, all the actual physical location branches, we'll have a couple of these TVs up with the Spectrio hub, and then from the home office, we're able to like, you know, put up announcements, graphics, pictures. Hey, congratulate so and so on their 5 year anniversary today. You know, birthdays this month. You know, and so we're able to it just creates a little bit more of a sense of cohesiveness, especially since we're spread over 5 states. We want to make sure we feel close, you know. So little things like that, they do make a difference.
No, that is so cool. I can see how that definitely like establishes your guys' culture and now everyone is saying happy birthday. You don't have to wonder, maybe ask around and
Mm-hmm.
now it's not like it's someone's birthday and they're just like sitting alone at their desk, maybe they have some presents on their desk and everyone's saying
Yep.
happy birthday. And same thing with accomplishments. I think that's also great for I guess you could say competition or getting people
Yep.
to level up, work harder is like, hey, so awesome. You, I don't know, worked on this many jobs this month, or,
Yep.
you helped us get this many customers. I think that's
Yeah.
super
Or
powerful.
if a review comes in that specifically shouts somebody out, that's definitely going up on the screen.
Yeah. Wow. That's so awesome. And
Yeah.
again, I don't think I've heard of that before either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there
Pretty cool.
any other kind of nuggets or things to strengthen your culture within your company that's maybe unique to you guys?
Um, things to strengthen. I mean, well, like the branch managers play a big role in strengthening their cultures at their branch. That's kind of like what they're tasked with. So, like one of our branch managers, uh, I think he does a tremendous job at this. He'll create a partnership with like a minor league baseball team or something like that, and they do branch outings. And he'll find like good creative ways to like sponsor something there so he can have like the mascot and have company materials, and then the whole team will go out and they'll have food and watch a game together and bring their families. So we do stuff like that. And we try to allow the branch managers to really drive that to where it makes sense for their branch.
That is so awesome. And as an SEO guy, you're like totally speaking my language where most people are like trying to buy backlinks when really you want to be getting like links and mentions from real places that are ideally local. So if you can get the link from like the local baseball team or the local
Yeah.
church, whatever you're sponsoring,
Yep.
that's where it's at. And then also having all these people talking about you and hearing about you, they're like, huh, who is Catseye? And they're just looking you up. And even just looking you up is powerful in of itself. So, you
Absolutely.
guys are crushing it there with the reputation and the branding.
We're trying. We're trying.
Definitely. Um, Maybe one of the last things that I wanted to ask you, kind of going full circle, is let's say there's a guy listening and he is just starting out in a sales role like you, and he wants to become, a higher level like president like yourself. How does like a sales guy or anyone who's kind of lower tier in the company level up and get to your position?
So this is something I say to all the sales guys is that you always have to be selling, even when you're
Hmm.
not in front of a customer.
ABC.
Um, yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
no, it's
not,
ABS.
yeah,
What is it? Oh, ABC is always be
always be
closing.
closing. Yeah, but what I mean by that specifically is okay. Um, you're not just selling the customer and closing the job. You're selling the inside office who's booking your leads that you're the best person to put leads
Mm,
on. You're selling the customer service team that they want to give you the best scheduling and the best attention. You're always selling the management team that you're on your game, and that your sales are the best sales and the highest quality sales. And so it starts there. Like, you can't lead if no one follows.
Mm.
If you're just if a leader is leading and no one's following, you're just taking a walk. You're not leading anything, right? So anyway, so you got to first start with everyone around you believes in you. Everyone and you, because you believe in them and you're respectful to them, and you're right. But you're always not selling like a smarmy salesman, right? Uh, you're convincing, right?
Mm.
And you've won allies, and you have to win allies in every aspect of any company that you're in.
Mm.
Everybody has to be in your corner
Definitely.
to
Yeah,
move
just
up.
making things happen. I feel like that is a very big commonality between all the people who are successful in this space. They're always just go, 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 make things happen, like no matter what. And some people may think like, oh, why are you always selling? Why are you always convincing? Like things, why do you have to like force things or like make things happen? That I think that's how the world works. I think that's
And it
why.
has to come from
Yeah.
an organic place too. It can't come across like you're just selling people, but it has to come from an organic place of, hey, I'm on my stuff. I'm on my what I need to get done. I'm on it. I'm on the ball. And hey, I'm ready for more work. Hey, I can handle that. Hey, I can help out with that. And those are the people that are they get attention when the need arises. So
Mm.
you have to position yourself so when a conversation happens of, hey, we really need a new branch manager, or hey, it's time for a sales manager, that you're the first person they think of.
Mm.
And if you haven't been positioning yourself for the last however long, you're not in that conversation.
That's great. Yeah, positioning, it's so important. And so if you're going from like a so for you, when you were leveling up in your positions, were you asking to get the new position or were they always coming to you?
um, I don't know if there was a differentiation there. Um, I think I made it clear, hey, I can handle more,
Mm.
and I think I could do a good job. And when the need arises, you know, it was a conversation. I said, yeah, I think I could do it. Um, and so I think it was a little more of a blend.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And right now you are president. Is there another role that you're trying to get? Because it seems like you're just keep leveling up. You went all the way from the bottom.
No, we so our founder is also the CEO,
Okay.
but he gives me tremendous um, trust, which I appreciate, and he allows me to run everything in the business, and him and I check in regularly, but he really trusts me. So as far as future ambitions, I would say the company grows and new roles will have to be created, and we'll see what happens. But nothing happens without the business growing, right? So we gotta just grow it.
Exactly. And can you tell me a little bit more about the founder? Because he just seems like such an interesting guy, this
Yeah,
visionary, like all the stuff. Can you tell me more about him? What is he like?
yeah. He's a great guy, and I mean that. I don't think he'll hear this podcast, so I'm not just saying that. He really is a great guy. Cares about family, cares about people, and that those are first for him.
Mm.
After that, he's highly ambitious. He has built and sold a number of businesses. He he owns a few businesses now, even outside of pest control. He's a driver. He likes to innovate. Um, he kind of plays the long game and sees things it seems like, before most people see them. You know, I don't know what else you want to know about him, but
No, yeah, I'm just interested because I mean, really the branding, like I am just so surprised by that and all the little like culture aspects and the differentiators. Like
Mhm.
I think that is what it takes to thrive in the space now because I feel like pest control is fairly competitive. There's a lot of guys starting companies. There's so many
Yeah,
companies that are doing, $1 to $10 million a year. Like they're
yeah,
not like a huge Orkin, but most of these companies are trying to figure out those differentiators. And I feel like you guys really have.
yeah. John's very passionate about marketing and sales, and then also the customer. So he's not the type of guy to compromise on anything. Okay. So if a KPI is off, there's no compromise. It's either we beat the KPI or right. So his standards are extremely high. The standards are high for sales. They're high for the technicians. Uh, always has been for the business. He's always imagined that if he's going to own a pest control business, it's going to be the best one. It's going to have
Mm.
the highest quality people, highest quality service delivery. So that was his vision. And like I said, I'm very fortunate that he gives me the trust to run, and he doesn't question my decisions. He gives a lot of trust, which says a lot about him as a leader, because that's sometimes the hardest thing is to extend trust to people, especially when it's when you're the
Yeah.
owner, right? When you're the
Yeah.
main owner.
That is so awesome, man. Well, we are almost finished. Would you like
Great.
to leave the audience with anything?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to chat today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely, man. So glad to have you on and learned a ton of little nuggets. I'm always so curious about all those little things. Like you have the exclusion system, you have the TVs in the place. Like I'm
Yeah,
sure you don't think it's anything crazy, but from someone on the outside, I mean, I don't even run a pest control company, but I'm sure even for these other pest control company owners, I'm sure they're actually writing this down. Like we have to implement that. So
yeah.
super valuable. Thank you for all the golden nuggets.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast more, so I can get some nuggets from other business owners.
Definitely, that's my goal here. So where can people find you on social media?
Social media, you can find Catseye on LinkedIn, USX on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on all of it.
All right, and what
Uh,
about you? Because
me
you're the
personally,
Tesla.
I'm on LinkedIn. I think it's just Joe Dingwall, and yeah, that's where
Okay,
I
awesome,
live most of the time.
perfect. All right, so I'll link all of those in the description. So anyone who wants to check those out, yeah, go ahead and follow Joe on LinkedIn. And anything else you'd like to plug?
No, that's about it. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah, man, of course. Yeah, always love to give that opportunity. So yeah, man,
Appreciate it.
thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast, and yeah, let's talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, see you, Joe.
Bye bye.